I'm really pleased with the invitation to present because originally I was not a part of this project, so I just want to share, thank you, very briefly one project that we did that particularly focused on inclusion. And we did it together with my PhD student, Aysuhan, and she's from Turkey, and she had experience working with Syrian refugees in her country. So for her, it was like a known area of work. So when we're thinking about the project, we realize that there are, of course, a lot of issues in Hong Kong, and one of them is the well-being of refugees and asylum seekers, because Hong Kong didn't sign the particular declarations, so basically they can't accept them in Hong Kong, and if they're processed, they need to go to the other countries. But the process took so long, and these people are really stressed. Their kids are allowed to go to school, but that's it, they're not allowed to work, so they're really like in a very depressive state of mind. And then because my background is greening of economies, green skills, greening of vocational education, so we're thinking about sustainable urban development and any positive impact these people can have to the city, and also will it affect their well-being. And another point was education for sustainable development, because you might know that we had a decade on education for sustainable development, and we have been focusing on different types of pedagogy and students' engagement. So yes, framework, sustainable development goals, so we're thinking to address the one that is particularly related to sustainable cities and communities, and then of course reducing inequalities and quality education, so that was our focus. And so when we're thinking about the proposed solutions, we're thinking how to bring together this greening agenda and agenda that relates to inclusion and well-being of the disadvantaged groups. And you can see here our way of thinking, so we're thinking about the well-being, the empowerment, different levels, personal, social, and community levels, and also the pedagogy that is based on student engagements, learner-centered pedagogy, and also environmental issues that exist in Hong Kong, so the learning can be contextualized. And there are some theories about what do we mean by well-being and empowerment, so we focused on the personal capacity development and also different type of resources that these people have, and also do we need to change policies and practices, and what role social entrepreneurship can play in this process. And it is based on the work we have been doing with different international organizations like ADB, UNESCO, World Bank, when we're looking in our region in Asia, what's going on in terms of greening and skills that are required to support these processes. So we developed the website where we put these resources, and we started our thinking by identifying 20 concepts that we think it is essential for everyone to understand if we're thinking about the future and better world in which we will be living happy lives. Yes? And so we focused on environmental pillar and its interface with economic and social components, because when we looked at the indexes of Asia development, environmental issues are really crucial, and they're behind like social and economical issues. So this is how our website look like. So we are focusing on the concept, and then we have the description of the concept, and then working sheets for the students, and also guidelines for the teachers. Because through our projects, we realized that teachers really doesn't know how to address these issues, and they haven't been trained, so we decided that we need to provide help. And because it is a student-centered approach, we have the student working sheet, so students know what to do, what aims will be achieved, and what they need to read, and what sort of activities they need to be engaged in. And another important part is how these principles are implemented in the industries, because sometimes in some countries greening is not like the major trend, So students do not understand how, for example, green technology is implemented in different industries. So we selected 10 industries and provide case studies that illustrates our concepts. And you can see that we have the same approach, the description of the case study, so what is happening in the industry, and then student worksheets, so they know what to do, and teachers' guidelines to support implementation. And this is just a very brief look of the concept. Yes, for example, it is related to the particular sustainable development goal. We have definitions, we have the description of the main things and also how it is related to life, how it is applied in the industries, and then the description of some issues. And this is the student working sheets, how they look like. So through our research, we identify these generic green skills that everyone needs to have. So we based our resources on that. And so you can see, the students see what type of competences they will develop, so what objectives they will achieve, what they need to do, how long it will take. And when we are thinking what concepts do we need to cover when we work with refugees and asylum seekers, we chosen the one that is related to waste management, because it is a huge problem in Hong Kong, and where our government is trying to find different types of solutions how to deal with that. We have 7.5 million population on a very small territory, huge waste produced, so this is a really big issue in Hong Kong. And you can see that there are 5 R's in terms of waste management. It relates to refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. And you can see that recycle is that a very, very small thing. So when we're talking about waste management, we really need to think about the other things before we start with recycling. And so this is the way we designed our workshops with refugees, and they are mainly mothers and kids, mainly from Philippine and Southeast Asian countries like Nepal and Bangladesh. So you can see that we start with sustainable consumption, then we move to the waste management and social enterprise. And because it was a research, so we measure what they're thinking before and what happened at the end, and so we were very pleased with the results. And you can see how it is related to different waste management opportunities. And also you can see that we have, we used our concept sheets and also the case studies and discuss it during the workshops. And important component is the practical activities in which these refugees, mothers and kids were engaged. So you can see that they made, for example, wallets and toys from the leftover fabric. They recycle soap from the hotels, because again, on the previous research, we identified that the hotels, they are trying to deal with the waste soap, but they don't have enough small and medium enterprises to collect it. So they identified it as a big issue in Hong Kong. So we're thinking, okay, we just teach them how they can do that. And then they're also recycling cooking oil, so to make candles, recycling coffee to make scraps, and also decorating the bottles. So even it looks like very simple activities, you can see the level of engagement of these very oppressed people in Hong Kong society. And you can see that was the typical approach we used during the workshop: introduction of the concept, case study, then activity related to that, and discussion and hands-on activities. So this is just some illustrations, how they were engaged. Everything was masked, of course, during COVID. And you can see here very brief statements about their approaches towards environmental issues before, during, and after our intervention. So you can see that before, they sort of did things that minimize their waste, but they did it unconsciously in terms of environmental impact. They did it just to save money. But through our workshops, they realized that also by their sort of doing, they can make a better for the society, and they felt much more proud, they felt empowered, and it was really amazing, the results. Unfortunately, they can't set up their social enterprise in Hong Kong, but they said when they come back to their countries, they will try to do things, at least some of the participants said. So now we want to do a similar approach with the ethnic minority groups in Hong Kong, because when we're talking about Southeast Asia, they're usually at a very low level in terms of labor structure. So we're just trying to empower them so they can do social enterprise approach and also do good for the urban sustainable development, because we would advise them to set up enterprises along the waste management practices. And we have been talking about the values and mindset, and there are a lot of research that demonstrates that it is very difficult to change our values into behavior. So even we know that this is a good thing to do, there are a lot of barriers on the way. And so again, the research shows that there are a number of mediating factors that can help students or people to change their values into behavior. And you can see here a number of them, so personal relevancy. Personal relevancy, and so how they can see that their involvement into greening is relevant to them, then self-efficacy, and also control and emphasis on the greening of industries and skills. And here you can see that how we're dealing with that and the result. So because I have only 5 minutes, probably I should stop here, and I guess PowerPoints would be available so you can have a look at this. But one of the point is the skills. Yes, so if we want to transform values into behavior, we need to equip students with skills, because otherwise they wouldn't feel that they can do things. And so this is actually a very interesting relationship between skills and values, because when we are looking at the green economy agenda, only skills are mentioned. So no one says about values, but here we can see the link with this. Yes, and this is our email addresses.
Thank you very much, Margarita.